Heart problems. They can surprise you when you don't expect it. Today I've had a experience that I didn't think I'd have until I turned like 60 or something. But apparently it can happen to basically anybody at any given time. The day started off just like any other day. I got up, I drank my morning coffee, sat here, waited for the time to go by so that I could get to work. When the time was right, I put my clothes on and I went straight to my car. It's a bit of a chilly day, so I had to scrape some ice off my windscreen, but that's about it. And then, once I got into the car, I started driving away. And after 5 minutes of setting off in my car, I noticed this chill in my right shoulder, this cold spot building up here. And I thought that maybe it's just because it's cold outside. Maybe I got some like really cold hands. Maybe they kind of made the shoulder cold or something. So I kind of ignored it. But at the same time, the coldness grew and it stretched down to my whole hand. Like my whole arm was cold at this point. And that's when a thought occurred to my mind. Is this a heart attack? Because I've heard stories, about people saying that you get this radiating feeling from your right arm and it's stretching across your chest and goes into your heart. So I immediately jumped to the fact that I'm having a heart attack because I've never felt this coldness before. I've had, my arm go numb and stuff like that, but this was completely different. As soon as I started thinking that, I noticed that the cold went from my shoulder straight to my chest. And that's when it hit me like, holy shit, I'm having a heart attack. I can't believe it. I'm only 29 and I'm having a heart attack. But I'll get to that in a later stage. But that's what I was thinking right at this time. I'm having a heart attack. So my heart started pounding really, really fast. I'm not even joking. This is the hardest and the fastest my heart has ever pounded in my whole life. It was completely different to any sort of experience I've had before. This was completely new. At this time, I was starting to hyperventilate a little bit. I was starting to not get my breath, and I could still feel my heart pounding like crazy in my chest, and the coldness was spreading. So I thought that, oh shit, I'm really in trouble right now. So I picked up my phone. I had lots of trouble finding who to call, but I decided to call my mom, and she picked up the phone, and I asked her with a little bit of a shaky voice, what does a heart attack feel like? And immediately I noticed she was thinking about why I asked that question and how she could answer it without making me panic more. But before she got a chance to answer, I said to her, because I think I'm having one. And at that point, she basically asked me, what does it feel like? And I explained, while my heart was pounding like crazy in my chest, that it's this cold feeling and my heart is racing on and I don't know what to do. Is this normal? What is happening? And she explained that if you have a heart attack, it's usually excruciating pain, which I didn't have. It was more of this numb cold feeling while my heart was racing like crazy. And so once I talked to her, it settled down a little bit. Now this is like a minute or two into the drive. I was still driving, by the way. You should not talk in your phone and drive, especially not if you think you're having a heart attack. But that's why I did, because I was completely out of it. Then it started to cool down. The massive pounding was over and it started to cool. And I thought to myself that maybe this was just like some sort of a miniature panic attack or something. Maybe it wasn't that big. And after a minute that it had stopped, I noticed that the cold feeling came back. It started from the chest, radiated out into my arm, and it started pounding again at the same rate. And at this point, I was like, this is bad. Like, I have to do something about this. Because at that point, I thought that if I ignore this, I'm gonna die. Now, I know that this is probably far from dying, but at that point, that was the most out of control moment I've had in my life, and it was terrifying. I was scared shitless. So my heart was pounding in my chest like crazy. I was talking to my mom. I was debating whether I should go to work or go to the hospital. And then after a few minutes, continuing on with the rise and fall of my heart, it just went up and down like that all the time. I decided to turn around and go to the hospital. While I was talking with my mom all the time, she just kept me calm, a little bit at least. She tends to freak out over the minuscule things. So I was really surprised that she could keep her cool during this time, because usually if I tell her, I have a flat tire, that's the end of the world, you know. So this was surprising that she could keep her cool. Anyway, I drove to the hospital with my heart still pounding every now and then. It fluctuated. Got out of the car. I went straight into the hospital. Went to the reception desk, whatever it is, and talked to a girl across it and said, I don't know what's happening to me, but I think I'm having a heart attack. Because I was so scared at that point that I literally thought that I was having a heart attack. Still, even though my mother kind of cooled me down, but I still thought, you know, this is a heart attack and I need to do something about it. So she immediately took some tests, you know, tested my finger or something like that, and then she told me to go and sit and wait. I was like, I have a situation here. Do I really have to sit and wait? But I went into the waiting room and I waited there for 10 minutes, and then they took me into this weird little small room, and they put all kinds of weird things on me with cables into a machine, and they started monitoring my heart rate. And I was in that room for about 10 minutes, taking different tests, blood pressure and whatnot. And after that, I got out and I waited about an hour until I finally got to talk to a doctor. And this was still while I was continuously having these up and downs with my heart, and I couldn't explain it. I couldn't for the love of me explain it. So I went into the doctor. I talked to him and said that it occurred this morning, it happened that and that, yada yada, with my mom in the car. I felt dizzy, a little bit nauseous. I didn't know what to do, so I drove straight over here. And he just calmly sat there. I bet he was thinking that I was overreacting, but it was seriously scary. Once I talked to him for about 10 minutes or so, he told me that I have like a arrhythmiac thing in my heart. It beats irregularly at some point. So, but that's I've had that my whole life, so that's no news to me. This feeling, this thing happening right now was completely new to me, and I was literally freaking out. He told me that you look kind of pale. Are you okay? And I was there like, no, I'm not okay. I'm having this heart problem, and what am I supposed to do? And then they took me upstairs. They took some blood tests and whatnot, and they came back, everything fine. Everything totally fine. There's nothing wrong with my heart, with my blood pressure. Everything is okay. A little bit on the higher side, the blood pressure, that is, but that's because nerves. They always say that, but that's because of nerves. So then I had the final talks with the doctor, and this was the time when my heart actually started to slow down a little bit. I could actually feel it slowing down. It was a nice feeling. I started getting some warmness in my chest area again, and he just told me that if this occurs again, I might have to go on some sort of medication, but for now, we're just going to leave it be. This might have been a one-time thing. If not, you know, I'll just go back and they'll put me on some beta blockers or something to keep my heart rate down. But, yeah, this was scary. And I decided to share it with you because some of you might have had similar experiences. I hope you haven't, but some of you might have. And if you have, I'd love to read about them. So if you have, leave your stories down below. I'll read every single one of them, and I'll also reply to you now because discussion and whatnot. This was the first time that I actually felt out of control, because usually, you know, I've had cuts on my hands and legs and whatnot, stitches and everything done to me, but I could take care of that, you know. I could stop the bleeding. I could put some band-aids on or whatever just to manage it for the time being, but my heart, I couldn't do jack shit. I couldn't do anything about it. It was going on about its own business, and the only thing I could think about was, I'm going to die. That went through my mind right then. Now I'm kind of fine. I still feel a little bit weird. I feel a little bit nervous because I don't know if it's going to come back or not, and if it is, what's going to happen and so on. But for now, I feel totally fine. Really scary, though. Just really, really scary. And the worst part is, you only have one heart, right? So if you injure your hand or arm, you can live without it. If you injure your leg, you can live without it. Ear, eye, live without it. But if you lose your heart, you're gone. That scared me. That scared me a little bit. It gave me a good scare, this one. Unfortunately, I don't have any pictures because I was more focused on actually trying to get some help instead of doing a video out of it. But I decided to share the story with you either way. And if you have similar experiences and you think that maybe it'll pass or something, don't do it. Just go to the hospital, get some help. They're there for a reason, and they really do a good job, even though sometimes they tell you to go home, eat some painkillers, and that's it. Quick side note. I know some of you might notice this green screen behind me. I did a thing. It didn't work. You can still see these artifacts and everything in my hand if I wave it about. I thought, you know, why not be a little bit fancy, but it didn't work out too well. I have some clips right there. Hold on. Right over there. Keeping the green screen together so that it'll look kind of okay. As of right now, I'm fine. And hopefully this doesn't happen again. If it does, I know what to do. But hopefully it does never happen again. But as I told you a little bit earlier, if you have a similar story, something like this has happened to you as well, feel free to leave your stories down below. I'll read them all. I'll reply to them. We can have a tiny discussion maybe. I'd really like to hear what else people have experienced. Since I've never had a heart attack, I didn't know what it felt like, so this was a miniature heart attack to me. But since the doctors thought that I am completely healthy, I am not on any medication right now. If this happens again, I might go on beta blockers to keep my heart rate down. I don't know what to say, man. Stuff like this could happen to anybody at any time, no matter who you are. Yeah, that's it. It's pretty good. Oh, crap. Oh, my God. I need a drink.